We are AM 1370 WLTH and on the FM dial 92.7 W224EA, Gary, Indiana.
All right, everybody. Good morning. Top of the hour right now. Today is Friday, the 9th of October, 2020. And this is WLTH. Welcome into another installment of the Gary Common Council Show. An opportunity that I get to talk with members, distinguished members of Gary's Common Council about issues that are going on in the community, politics, and a lot of the things that are out there that affect you and I. And we also get a wealth of information from our councilmen when they appear on the show. We are going to get right into it because we got a lot of stuff we want to cover today. But I want to say hello to my guests, my colleagues, my co-host. It's the usual crew. I like this crew right here.
Good morning. We like you too.
First District Councilman William Godwin, of course, Ty Atkins from 4th, and then, of course, Mr. Ron Brewer. You still at large?
Still at large.
All right, there you go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, Will, go ahead. Let's. What do you want to get into?
It's good
today?
to be here, and it's good to be across from the Genesis Center where I see people voting.
Yes.
And so today we want to talk about, I think, 4 main areas.
Yeah.
Number one, the violence is happening in the city.
Yes.
We know that, this is really, and I don't blame anybody. I think there's just a whole community effort that's required to really start to address this.
Yeah.
And, we want to talk about that. We want to talk about voting.
Yeah.
We know that early voting has started, so we're going to go through some of that and why it's important to vote. Yeah. Of course, we're not endorsing anybody. We don't do that in this forum. But please vote.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about voting. We also know that there's some hot topics specifically around the sanitary district, and which is in the Ways and Means Committee, which Councilwoman Atkins chairs. And so
see how you did that. And there was so much civility behind the scenes.
Hey, I get a break from taking the heat. Right? So there will be a committee meeting, I believe, on Tuesday. Right. She'll talk about that and look, and what's at stake with those issues. And of course, we all look forward to hearing citizen concerns and responding to those.
All right. Well, we're going to get it started. We'll open the phone lines up, but we're going to get to the calls momentarily because we want to get to some of the topics that
But let me interject. One thing I neglected to say, which I certainly feel bad about, is I wanted to have Councilman Brewer, who knew Councilman Roy Pratt better than both of us, and certainly better than me.
Yeah, I knew him. He was my coach.
Right. And a resident of the 1st District, long-time councilman at large. But I want to begin our show with we want to dedicate this show to Councilman Roy Pratt. And I'd like for Councilman Brewer to offer sort of some words.
There you go. Mr. Pratt. You've been charged. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Councilman Godwin, and to the listening audience and to everyone that's listening to us via Facebook and any other streams that's out there. Mm-hmm. And to my colleagues, good morning to you all and Jeff.
Yeah. Hey.
Just want to say a few things about Councilman Roy Pratt. We served on the Gary Common Council together for 4 years.
Yeah.
And before serving on the Gary Common Council, me and Councilman Pratt, I first got introduced to Councilman Pratt during the cleanup committee, which Councilman Pratt was the chair of it, and I currently am the chair of it now.
Right.
A lot of things kind of similar now to the roles that I play inside the city, to the position that I have. Mm-hmm. It just amazing.
You are the new Roy Pratt.
Basically, yes. But Mr. Pratt was, a person that I look to, you know. A lot of times when you come on council, you see younger faces and you think those are people that you're really going to connect with.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen with me. Councilman Pratt was the person that I connected with.
Yeah.
We sat right next to each other. We traveled together. We fellowship in congregation, churches together, outside events. We did a lot of different things together. He definitely was a trailblazer inside this community. He had on his last campaign, I don't know if he had before, but a proven leader.
Yeah.
And Councilman Pratt was just that, a proven leader. He didn't need to, get out there and explain his record. He served this great city for 32 plus years.
Yeah.
And served it well. I don't think Councilman Pratt ever missed a meeting at all that time.
Yeah.
That's commendable. Some people miss jobs. 32 days they miss on jobs.
Right.
And he hasn't missed a council meeting. So that's something to be commended. He'll definitely be missed by all of our colleagues, and we continue to celebrate him as a proven leader inside this great community. And we look forward to doing something great with the council. With, dedicating the council chambers in the honor of Councilman Roy Pratt. Very soon.
That's going to be amazing. Was he like a mentor to you? Because I do remember, and you just said, like when you came in, you probably thought you'd be connecting with people more your age, but you did spend a lot of time with him.
I spent a lot of time with Councilman Pratt. He was definitely a mentor to me. I told a story at the council meeting about how when we went to our conference in D.C. and we was wrapping up with all of our different things, and I wanted to go see the King statue. Oh, okay. They just put it up and everything, and
you went to sightsee.
I wanted to sightsee a little bit, and I wanted to catch a cab or to get there real quick. And Councilman Pratt said, he'd been going to D.C. quite a few years, and he said, well, we'll take the train and we'll walk on over there. Yeah. Me not ever going to D.C., not knowing how far the streets was there, we proceeded to walk, and the statue looked like we're getting closer, but
it's not. You gotta remember, you're in like an octagon.
For about 20 blocks, at least 20 blocks.
He was giving you a workout.
Oh my God, no, I was giving him the workout. When we started counting up the blocks, and he stopped and said, "Look, we ain't going no farther. We stop right now. As soon as we get home, I'm telling Beverly on you. You can't do all that." Yeah, we walked and it was warm that day, but Councilman Pratt kept up and everything. But I remember those times there, the jokes he used to tell on the council floor and trying to mute his mic and make sure, we don't say the wrong thing. Those little inside things that take place there, and a lot of times you want to win on the council. Right. You want your votes to be heard, and you want to feel good about it. Right. And one thing I had something very controversial I was working on. And I just didn't agree with it. Right. And I voted no against it, and it failed. Mm-hmm. And, he kind of felt that I was a little upset about it. It's my first year on the first couple of months. Took it very personal. Yeah. But he leaned over and he told me, he said, every loss is not a loss vote. Yeah. And every win vote is not necessarily a win vote. Yeah. And that stuck with me. Nice. So therefore, I can go now, and if the vote fails, I feel strong about my decision or what my standpoint was on that. Because Roy Pratt instilled that in me, just that, because I didn't come from a political background. Right. My family wasn't political connected or anything. This is something that I just have a passion for this great city to do. Nice. But Councilman Pratt had a passion for it, and I think I have that drive also, just following his. That was a good story, Ron. Now we know a little bit about Ron. I like that. Go back to you, Will. We're going to get into some of the topics. Phones are lighting up. 219-885-1371. But let's start off. Go ahead, Will.
Well, I want to just start out and say that dealing with violence. Yes. I mean, I think last night there were 3 human beings, 3 lives that were shot. I'm not sure their condition. Yeah. But this has been a steady stream. And I think I read or heard somewhere we're about 40% up in shootings. Higher than last year. Yeah. And so I just want to make an appeal, and I'm sure my colleagues have a lot to say about it, make an appeal to the community to really be vigilant, to, of course, be safe, but also to talk to the police. Mm-hmm. One of the challenges is that when things happen, people don't want to talk. Right. I understand the concerns, but if you can talk to the police when they're doing the investigations, when the detectives are coming out, and share what you know. Right. And if you see something, say something, like they say at the airport. If you see something that looks suspicious, you see a pattern that doesn't seem right, you got to call it in so that our police can be as preventive as they can. Yeah. You can't stop people from shooting necessarily, but we want to, at least as much as possible, have a sense of what may happen. And so please reach out. Please talk to the police. Please be vigilant within your various neighborhoods across the city. So
now, as a member of the council, when we do hear the crime, and things do get political, and you are in political positions, is it about lack of resources? Because one of the things you and I know, in times and Ron, is that there's this perception out there that Gary is wide open. And it's due to the fact that we don't have as many police officers. They would also, the administration, I'm sure, would bring up the fact that they're trying to acquire equipment, more police cars. They want to pay more auxiliary people, and they need the resources. We got a budget coming down the line. Do you kind of look at that, or what is your attitude towards that when you hear those kind of arguments?
Well, I think we definitely need more resources. Yeah. We definitely need more men and women in uniform on the streets. We need more community-oriented policing. And let me let my colleagues talk. I've already talked a lot about
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Well, I'll go to you, Ty.
No, I mean, I echo those sentiments exactly.
Yeah.
Not only from a GPD perspective, but also on the fire. I've been learning a lot about the fire department over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Specifically, the budget is currently assessed for them to have, I believe, upwards of 200 plus firefighters. But currently, they only have almost half of that, 169, if I'm not mistaken. I think the budget should be allowed for them to have upwards of like 200, and I think at one point in time they had close to like 254.
Didn't they graduate a class just a while ago?
Yeah, and I think it probably was like 8 to 11 new.
Yeah.
So that was over the summer.
Yeah.
So we do have a strong need to acquire additional resources funding as well. I think my colleagues and I, we do have the budget on the floor currently, and police and fire is one of the few line items that we do have. I won't say free range, but a little more flexibility in terms of allocating additional funds.
Yeah.
So we should really take a look at that within the small pot that we do have, right? Making sure that the balance is projected correctly so that they are able to have additional resources, not only for the shootings that we've recently had, but unfortunately within my district, there was a loss of 2 lives, 2 young lives, as it relates in a fire. So it was a fatal fire a couple of days ago, I believe on Tuesday, our council day that morning. And so from what I know, it's not a blame on that, but one of the things is 5th and Maryland is really close to Station 1. And I believe that particular rig at Station 1 was already on another call. And so they had to reallocate when a truck is used. And so if you have 2 situations going on in the city, we don't have enough equipment to handle that, right? And so that is a concern. And so we need to figure out, and we being all members, all stakeholders for the city, how can we move forward in terms of getting more resources to support our first line fighters?
I want to go to Ron, kind of the same question, but I also want to add this because I've heard, I heard a conversation. And I remember one of the bills that got killed from the administration about the security cameras. And Will brought up a good point, and I think he did the right thing by making the appeal to the citizens about, listen, go out here. We need your participation. You see something, say something. But there will also be those who said, well, why would you all kill a bill or an ordinance that would require convenience stores, for instance, to put security cams to aid investigatory procedures, capturing images or things like that in high crime areas?
Well,
does it go back to that?
Let me be clear on that. That bill was to target, it was security cameras in that bill, but it was also armed security guards.
Okay.
And our focus was on the armed security.
You were on the armed part. Okay.
Now, we passed an ordinance in 2014 where every restaurant, store, daycare that's open 24 hours have to have security cameras.
Okay.
If you go to any gas station throughout the entire city, all of them have security cameras.
Yeah.
They're required to keep that footage.
Indoors and outdoors?
Indoors and outdoors.
Okay.
They're required to keep that footage. They're required to have S amount of lighting on the outside. Now, there are some things I would like to go back and revisit on that. As far as if you look at the average gas station inside a neighborhood, what do you see? You see the windows have so much stuff on there. You can't see in, you can't see out. So if we do have police officers that could ride past and see what's going on, we're talking about just the gas station, they couldn't tell what's going on inside because it's so much stuff over the window, you can't even see inside. Now, if you go to one of our surrounding communities, you ride past any of their gas stations, whether it's inside the neighborhood, on a main strip, you can see inside. And that's a problem here.
Now, is that something that you all can legislate?
Absolutely, absolutely. I believe we did something before on my first term in, where they did something where they allowed them a certain percentage of the glass that they can cover up.
Right.
I want to eliminate that. All the glass have to be clear, from the door until the surface glass is on the building itself.
I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, it has to be enforced as well, right? So we can only write so much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We also need to make sure
Code
it's
enforcement,
enforced.
the building department, we passed a lot of legislation as a council, and it's back to Councilman Ty Atkins. It has to be enforced.
Yeah.
The building department has the authority to enforce it when these businesses come out to get these business licenses.
Right.
If you're not in compliance, do not give them a business license, shut them down.
Right.
They have that.
I like that.
They have that authority to do it. Now, whether they're doing it or not, that needs to be seen, but I don't think it's been done.
Yeah.
That we are enforcing the powers that we have already on the books.
We're talking with the Gary Common Council right here on WLTH. We'll go to the phones in just a second. 219-885-1371. 219-885-1371. Code enforcement. We always come back to that. We hear a lot about that on the show. We know we have 6. I believe the administration said this budget, they're just going to roll with the 6 and then probably ask for an increase next year. What are your thoughts?
I think that's great. I mean, I know we had 5
Yeah.
for a while, and the first district was we didn't get as many. We didn't get a full person. We were sharing
Yeah.
with the Morningside area in the 6th district. But I think that's good. It's a start, and there's only so much they can do.
Yeah.
But I know that I had a meeting a few weeks ago in the Glen Ryan neighborhood,
Yeah.
and we had a great conversation. The code enforcement officer for the first district was there,
Mm-hmm.
as well as a member of the community-oriented policing team. We had Mr. Eric Reeves from the Parks Department.
Right.
So it was a great conversation that dealt with a lot of issues
Mm-hmm.
that folks are seeing. And, one of the issues is that the penalties have to be stiff enough, right?
Right,
To make people
right.
comply. And we also have to realize, and a lot of
Yeah.
times it's hard for citizens to understand or accept, that there's a process.
Yeah.
So even if someone is cited, there's a whole legal court
Right,
proceeding
right.
that has to follow that before you can necessarily do something about it. And if the city goes in and does it on its own, then that's a cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we're taking on that we may or may not recoup.
Right.
So there's choices that have to be made.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see that each district will have at least one person.
Now, speaking of each district, and we're going to go to some of the other topics you want to talk about, but I watched the park department meeting with Eric Reeves a couple of days ago, and I remember talking with somebody about the administration. They had this idea, Ty, you know this, all 3 of you know this. We've got an overwhelming number of parks, and the reality is it's just there's not a lot of resources to maintain it. You all have actually been doing some good things individually in your own district. I know, Ty, you and Will, I believe, partnered up one time in a park, spotlighting it. The idea is about going forward, I believe I'm articulating correctly, about the gyms, giving each district would kind of showcase one of its best parks and really kind of concentrate the resources on that, and then possibly allow some of the other parks to either be adopted, to be maintained by private citizens, or look to other ways to go out there and do it. What are your thoughts on that? Do you buy into that
I
idea?
definitely buy it. We cannot continue to do all the parks that we have. I think we have 52, 54
Yeah,
parks.
I think it's 54.
Yeah, I mean, it's a ridiculous number for the size of people that we have inside
Yeah.
the community. There's no way we can, and we need to own up to that.
Yeah.
These are the parts we're not going to do. And I just put it out there. We're not.
I like
gonna do
it.
Yeah.
We either going to get rid of these parks, we're going to return back to nature, or we're going to say, and these are the parts we're going to do.
Right.
And everyone can identify of these parts. And
Now,
we-
if a nonprofit or a private citizen
Oh,
group
it's
wants
yours.
to come in,
It's yours.
okay, that's
Yeah,
what I wanted to
you
hear.
can take
Because I
it
know
on.
there's some people
we're
out
not going
there.
to stop anyone that wants to participate in the process.
Yeah.
But the parts that we can do,
Yeah.
they just don't need to be someone run over with a lawnmower and just run the grass down and it's back up 2 days later. I mean, I talk about it all the time.
Right.
You treat it like a haircut.
Right.
You do everything you need to do. The hedges, the
Yeah,
trees.
yeah.
I mean, who wants to take their kids to a park and you got tree limbs hanging
Hanging
all the
down.
way down to the grass and on the sidewalk where they can poke their eye out or you
Yeah.
can hit yourself, whatever. Who wants to go to a park like that? I look at Tolleson Park.
Yeah.
And that's a jewel park.
Yes.
I identify it as a jewel park. A lot of people use it, just like Marquette,
Yep.
Reed
Yeah,
Park.
it is.
We have several parks that we can just identify ourselves.
Yeah.
There's trees still laying on the ground from the storm.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
Trees.
Trees.
I mean, some of these trees you can move with a bobcat. I can move them. I know.
Everybody don't got a bobcat, bro.
But we do have that. The things that we do have,
Yeah.
let's use them, let's
Right.
put them to use.
Yeah.
A park is essential.
Right.
And that's something that should have been cleaned up right away. And no, not harping on the general service
Right.
department, but they do a doggone good
No,
job.
yeah,
now.
they do.
I applaud them every chance I get.
Yes.
But the park with trees hanging in and the parks that people use, kids still go play basketball
Yeah.
and do other different activities. No way in the world that you should see trees that still. And this tree didn't just fall because of the storm pretty much. This tree's been rotted out, so it really should have got taken care of way ahead of time.
Yeah.
We have to start back doing the preventive maintenance like we used to do inside the city. I don't think we do enough of it. we're reactive to everything.
Yeah.
We got to get to the point where we're proactive.
Well, I'm going to ask you, Todd, because in your district, you got a couple of parks that you could easily point out as being a gym. You probably would only have to choose just one. What are your thoughts about this idea? Because I'm curious. Because you got a couple. Because you got at least two that I know you like to roll with.
You're trying to get two on the bus.
How many neighborhoods are in your district? You have a lot of
Too many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's tough.
She's got two. She's got Reed. What's the other one? You got two. You got Reed. What's the other one?
Yeah.
In terms of parks,
Yeah, your parks.
also on the west side, I have Patrick Park.
Yeah.
And then I have these are tier 1 parks.
Okay, go ahead.
Because we also have tot lots. I've read my Gary Park master plan, okay? But my major ones are Ironwood,
Yeah.
Lee Park. Then I would like to say Carolina because that's
Right.
one that I really want to revamp.
Yeah.
It's nested right inside of a neighborhood, and it's a beautiful vacant campus for us to do a more modernized look for recreation.
Yeah.
I think that, I'm just going to be transparent. I'm tired of hearing about talks. So if the idea is there, I will believe it when I see it.
Right.
So I would like to see a concrete plan. One of the things that I had tried to work with the Gary Parks Department, who at that time was led by Eric Reeves, was with Carolina Park. I think one time that I came here, we had
Right.
potentially planned to have a groundbreaking ceremony because I had worked on a project plan and had secured funding
Yeah.
for that park. But the week or two before the groundbreaking ceremony, I was told that there was a slew of different items that need to be taken care of from the Public Works Department, from stormwater, et cetera, that I wasn't privy to. So if in fact, they want us to do this and if they want the council people to be a part of that, I think that a operating procedure in terms of how we're going to get to that goal should be completed before they bring it to the council.
Yeah.
So that we can understand, what work do you want us to do? What
Right.
work can you handle? And then I think that it should be not just the park, but also how are we going to leverage this park to facilitate community around the surrounding neighborhood
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So a recreation program should also be associated with the revamping of that as well, which includes preventative maintenance, ongoing maintenance,
Yeah.
et cetera.
Would
Don't
you?
get me started.
I know. I'm seeing that you got a lot. Would you be into private organizations or nonprofits coming in and adopting parks or managing parks in your district?
From my understanding, I've had a number of people. Pulaski Park, I had someone. I had a community meeting on Friday, who came and was advocating that Pulaski Park had been adopted from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And for one, I was totally clueless about that. So I have asked the park department, Eric Reese specifically, to provide me with what history they have on these adopted parks because they have been adopted.
Yeah.
This isn't new.
No, it isn't.
Right? So this program has been in existence for a while. And so I am not opposed to that, but I think that organizations should also be held accountable to.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you are adopting the park, we should have record of that, and there should be some type of tracking to ensure that they are maintaining the park.
That's what I was about to say. Some maintenance, some requirements to make sure that they keep it up to community standards.
Yeah, I know for a fact that the city, the park department, general service, we don't have the resources
Right.
to maintain, and so that would be a great avenue to take. It just needs to be done appropriately.
Now, what are your thoughts? Well, you're in a different situation.
I agree. I mean, and because, Marquette Park is big for the whole city,
Yes.
right? A lot of weddings. I officiated a wedding, actually.
No, look at
there last
you. You're a
week. It's a
pastor.
beautiful space, But we know we need something in Edna. We need something in Glen Ryan.
Right.
So that's my only concern about saying one diamond or one jewel
Yeah,
one
yeah.
gem for a district because, these are very, I won't say separate, but they're very distinct areas.
They are.
Right? And so for Glen
Emerson
Ryan,
too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for Glen Ryan in particular, I mean that's kind of the only real asset that you have,
Yeah.
right? I mean, because it kind of centers the neighborhood. Now Edna has a few parks,
Right.
And again, I know it's a challenge to pick which one in Edna
Right.
would be appropriate. I know some have been. The field house, I think, was adopted
Yeah.
some time ago. But I think that when you think about 52 parks, we're probably at about 65 or so thousand, 70,000 residents.
Yeah.
Hopefully higher, but looking at the census, you're talking about a park for every 1,200 people. That's a lot of parks.
That's a lot of
And
parks.
so I think that just like our schools, there are some tough decisions that will have to be made
Mm-hmm.
about what we can actually maintain.
Yeah.
And I know people are very sentimental, and sometimes it's named after folks that people
Yes.
knew or
Yes.
celebrated relatives. But we have to also think be realistic, and rather than have a whole lot of okay or average or bad
Yes.
parks, it makes sense to have a few,
Yeah.
that are really high performing and really great and safe places for people to recreate.
Well said. You all got the phones light up. You want to go get some calls?
Sure.
Let's go ahead. Caller, how you doing? You're on with the Gary Common Council. Good morning.
Good morning, Gary Common Council.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've been holding for about 20 minutes. You guys, I know you've been talking. Wow. I live in the 3rd District, and I have had to deal with all of the shooting every night. I'm a senior citizen. I done had to fall out of the bed because of all this shooting. This is unacceptable.
Absolutely.
My comment to the Common Council, you gonna leave, leave. And if you're not gonna be leaders, get out the way. I have lived in this city for 64 years, been a homeowner for over 30 years. And it is unacceptable for any senior citizen to have to hit the floor every night at 12 o'clock. And you are leaders, you're part of the leadership here. That's unacceptable. If you don't have enough police, I don't care if you don't have the 10. Use those 10 police effectively. Find out who's doing it. It's in the same area. I have a ring system. Most of these things have ring systems. And we text these, we text to let people know where the shooting is. If we got it, why don't you have it? When you see all the shooting going on in the community, reach out and get some help. The county is available. This is unacceptable. Yes, they got killings, but you also got these young people know more about what's going on than you do as a county. Get the young people involved. They know Facebook better than you do. They know what's going to happen before you know what's going to happen. Get you a young Facebook specialist to help you.
Ma'am, ma'am, can I ask you a question?
She must have been holding when we were discussing
Yeah. Ma'am, can I ask you a question? When these shootings take place, and I'm just asking to see where you at, do you call the police each time you hear these shootings?
Every time.
Okay. That's a good thing. Okay.
I reach out.
All
Because
right.
it's at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
I got to fall out of my bed. And I'm not going to sit here and listen to no council, no mayor, and I got to deal with this because I can get up out of here when I get ready. And guess what? I'm about ready to get up out of here.
Well,
And not continue to pay taxes to support leaders who say they're leaders and not making a change. You can get on the radio and talk all day. You can go have your council meeting every month and we don't see nothing different. I'm looking right down here on where we used to have a Walgreens. They made a Family Dollar out of not a Family Dollar, but a Dollar General in Miller. We need one right here in this area, a Dollar General. If you don't get one, get something else. But that building should not sit there vacant. Quit sitting around doing the same thing that the last 20 council people did.
okay. Thanks.
You are the new leader. Be leader.
Thanks, Ms. Kelly. Go. Any response?
Let me just say, I live in the 3rd District,
Yeah.
and she's not. I don't live in a house where it's soundproof, and I don't hear those gunshots. I hear them too.
Yeah.
I hear my son say, "Daddy, did you hear the gunshots?" My kids are trained to call the police. If
Yeah.
you're not at home, call the police. Whatever area you think you hear them coming from, give them a description.
Right.
I have been told by previous chiefs up to the current chief, if you more calls that they get in, that's how they deploy the police.
Yeah.
A lot of people, and I'm not talking about the last caller, I commend her for calling the police, but a lot of people say, "Oh, did you hear the gunshot?" And they call their friend, they put something on Facebook, but they don't call the police.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
I was just talking, a couple of weeks ago, we were in the council chambers, and we didn't say anything on the air, but gunshots rang out.
Yeah.
Right there by City Hall.
Yeah.
Gunshots rang out. We were in a council meeting.
Yeah.
Just the other day, 2 o'clock yesterday, matter of fact, I contacted both of my council people right here. Gunshot rang out on the east side there. At least 10 to 12 shots rang out. Immediately, I went to the floor where I was at,
Right.
out there working, but I called the police at the same time. Reports come back, these are young people walking around with guns.
Yes.
Young people, the description have come back. 10 to 15-year-olds, about 8 or 9 on, walking around the streets with guns.
Yeah.
We have to do something.
I agree. And it's kind of ironic because before we got on the air, Ty, you were even talking about as far as the young people, and because you go out in the community and you know young people are telling you.
Yeah, so I don't want to be defensive or, in the response, but I do want to be direct in my response to the caller. So we agree. I think, I had made the comment before the end of her commentary that she might have, been holding for us as we were discussing that. Last night on the east side, I called twice. And I'll call the county as well. I think the powers that we have as a council is to get our administrators involved, to let our police know what's going on, to try to get them to come into our neighborhoods. But we also discuss the resource constraints. We're not saying that that's an excuse, but we're saying that we're going to do within our powers to manage the budget, to make sure that we're driving funding there as big as we can so that we can have more presence. So we agree and we sympathize in that. And it's not that we're not doing anything. It's you saying that, as the new leaders, what are you doing specifically? But I can speak for the three of us here in the council as well. I know all of us, even when we talk to our public safety chair, we are advocating for that. And in the council meeting on Tuesday, I requested an update in terms of what's going on from the strategy from a public safety standpoint. So I hope possibly in our council meeting that's coming up on the 20th or maybe at the State of the City, that we are able to get some concrete answers in terms of the strategy that the city will be taking to get a handle on that.
Well, let me just say, and I agree with everything my colleagues have said already. If someone starts shooting right now, I can't blame the mayor, I can't blame a council person, I can't blame the police, because anybody can just start shooting. And it's unfortunate that that's happening all over the city and so frequently. I think what we can do as legislators, remember, we don't control the executive branch. The police department doesn't report to us. We try to write laws, right? And we try to fund appropriately, but there are funding constraints. We know we need way more resources going in terms of hiring officers. We need to make sure officers have all the professional development and training that's out there. We know we need better technology, license plate readers. We need so many things, shot spotters. All of this would help us to be able to detect and fight this criminal activity. But I think at the same time, it's only so much we can do, and again, I encourage people, as the caller has done, to keep calling, if you see something, say something. But, at the end of the day, we need more community-oriented policing. We got to have more folks out on the street, walking the beat, who know the neighbors, know the residents, so that you can begin to anticipate what's going to happen, whether it's a few days before or a few hours before.
Right.
We need more people who can do cyber technology, right? Who can look in social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
and see these
TikTok.
beefs that are going on.
You can see the beefs and you can do analysis, and police departments can have access to that. If we're able to really have people who are able to do that, then we can send people to the right areas. Thirdly, we know.
So does that come from the resources during the budget? I mean, is the administration? So is that on the budget this year? Is administration asking for that?
Not to my knowledge. But this is the budget is still
out
in
there.
play.
Okay.
So that kind of technology, is important to have, and we know we need more officers who are just regularly rotating around the city,
right? So
that you can pull over people for small offenses. Whether it's speeding, running a light, tail light missing, and some as annoying as that can be sometimes. Nobody lets get pulled over.
Exactly, not for the tail light. Come on.
But what happens is, sometimes you see people who have a warrant out on them, or there's guns in the car. You see things that
traffic infraction leads to apprehending a felon. So
these are techniques, and of course it's hard to do that when you have a limited number of officers out on the street, right? They're running. I did a ride along last summer, and it was the officer. What he did, he let me see the amount of calls that were coming into Gary compared to the other cities that participate, and even when you account for the population difference, it's just drastic. And they literally, the whole time I was with him, I did the 4 to midnight, they were literally just running from call to call all over the place. There's a whole variety of issues. And that's, first of all, it's very taxing on the officers.
Right.
But also it just shows you there's no time to do that watching, right? And looking and observing, because you're just running the whole time. So I'm hopeful that, we can find more resources to hire more officers, to try to invest in the technology, that will help us do better at prevention. Because once it happens, all we can do is respond.
Let me just say, we talk about the resource to hire more officers, but if we say we're going to hire an officer, you're talking about 2 years before they hit the street.
Right.
Something has to happen now.
Yeah.
What I would like to see, we shake it up a little bit. Hell, shut the police station down, put everybody on the street. Just shut it down.
Yeah.
Say I want everybody on the street because like
nobody hanging out in the office. Nobody hanging out in
put
the
them on the
building.
street. I understand you may not have been out here on the street for years or months or whatever, but we gotta shake this thing up. Because the same ones that we sit in the back talking about the guns and everything else, they're not walking. Majority of the time they're in a car.
Yeah.
You're gonna stop them, you're gonna find something in there.
Yeah.
Because the criminals are not that bright.
No.
We all know it.
Yeah.
You're going to catch them. When they had the sweeps long time ago going on in the city, people criticized them. But they were catching guns and things of that nature was coming off the street.
Right.
When those sweeps went on, guess what? They went on social media. Hey, better be cool. You better lay low.
Right.
They out here. The county boys out here. Lay station here.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, we got to bring those resources back because we don't have the numbers. So you need the help. It's called mutual aid.
Now,
Like
what
we
about
do with the
license
fire
plate?
department.
What about things like license plate reading? For instance, Hammond, they don't put that is their main thing that they do to monitor. You know, obviously they're closer to Chicago than we are, and so when they have people that might be fleeing into the city or something, they get a hit, and then they respond accordingly.
I'm looking to meet with Mayor McDermott hopefully within the next week or so.
Yeah.
To talk about some of those things that they're doing over in Hammond.
Yeah.
How we can bring those things over here because they're working.
Yeah. Okay.
They are really working over there.
Let's go to the phones. Call, how you doing? You're on with the Gary Common Council. Good morning.
Good morning, Main Street. Good morning.
Good morning, Ron.
And good morning, Mr. Godwin.
Good morning.
Mr. Godwin.
Good morning.
Hey, look, it's my understanding, I'm a landlord, it's my understanding right now the sanitary district is looking for a rate hike. Now, and I think you all will make that decision whether they get one or not. But my problem I have with a rate hike is, as a landlord, if you ever had a piece of property that you rent out, if that tenant leave in the middle of the night and owe $400 or $500 because they hadn't paid, the landlord would have to pay, even though they didn't have that water cut on. And then, I want to ask that then, Jeffrey, let me answer that, then I'll get to the next call. I don't want you to switch off because I do have another important thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I'm just saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just saying to you, Jeffrey, just hold on.
Smell like he's jumping the gun.
Yeah, I know sometimes you jump the gun.
The gun this morning.
Yeah, yeah.
We did have that as a topic of discussion for this morning. So it will be reviewed in the Ways and Means Committee. You should tune into that. It will be Tuesday, October the 13th at 6 p.m. I am chairing that committee. I have requested prior to that meeting for us to be able to obtain the following. The justification in terms of this particular increase, my understanding that the last increase was in 2012.
Yeah.
So if in fact, within 8 years later, they're asking for another one, what is going into that? So we need to understand the factors. If it's index pricing, commodity-based pricing that they're associating this particular increase, as well as the contracts. So I wanted to see, the contracts as well. So we will be getting into that.
Okay.
I don't want to I want to give you how I feel today about it. But please know that I will be digging deep until understanding why they're coming to the residents for that increase.
No, I'm not so much concerned. I'm talking about if I didn't have the water turned on? You understand, Ron? If you own the property.
I understand.
Okay.
The bill should follow the tenant,
That's what
not
I'm
the
saying.
owner.
Right.
I'll make sure I bring that up also.
We can talk about that on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, they need to waiver that. The next thing is, code seems like to me, there's a lot of code violations in this community. And I've read those codes in terms of people parking up on the grass line. I think I talked to you about it before. People parking up on the grass. Unless you're moving in or moving out, why? And of course, apparently, I don't know if they have enough people to take care of these codes, but this is something that has to be dealt with. And of course, I know I'm not going to criticize you all for taking care of these things, because that is not your job.
Okay.
But you all of you councilors doing a fine job of standing up, and that's what I like about my community. And I'm not going to beat you up, but I'm just saying, protect the landlord who come here and provide a place for them. And of course, I don't want to have to pay for something when somebody leaves in the middle of the night. And I know I was hit for the $400 about a year ago.
Okay.
People left in the middle of the night, and I didn't have to pay for it.
All right, thank you very much.
Those are valid points, though.
Yeah.
I think the renting, there's so much associated with like landlords. We have a high renters culture here in the city, right? But then also we have some renters that are not taking care of the property as well, right? So we just have to make sure that we're balancing between whatever the factor is that we're looking at. But we'll take those points, Mr. Matlock, to committee on Tuesday.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that has been presented to us or stated even at the last council meeting was what's at stake. I don't really want to vote for a increase in the trash collection fee.
Yeah.
That's we know people have been laid off. We know all the concerns.
Yeah, how did it make it this far? I mean, we're in a pandemic.
Right. And I think but what has happened is that the sanitary district is in a pandemic too, right? Or in an early stage pandemic because if you drive around the city, you will see that the sanitary district is doing a whole lot more than what they generally are charged to do.
Yeah.
Right. And we ask a lot of them when we do the community cleanups and the dumpsters, they're paying for that.
Mm-hmm.
I've even seen them fill potholes. I mean, we have all of them doing debris removal. So
yeah, God bless them, but they do get fees.
So because the city's revenues have gone down so drastically over the past, certainly since the tax cuts. I mean, we just don't have the funds and the equipment in some cases to do the stuff that citizens deserve.
Right.
And so I want to be careful, right, that whatever vote we take, that we're clear on the consequences, and that the public is clear on the consequences. So Godwin votes no, or my colleagues, whoever votes no about it, right? And let's say we don't get the trash collection fee. Well, some of the things that people have come to expect, I think I want to be very clear that those won't be happening anymore.
Like what?
Some of the community cleanup initiatives, trash collections, assistance with snow removal. So I'm not trying to scare people into it.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
The reality, because they have an operational deficit.
Right.
That's the reason why.
So they're trying to make up for it by increasing.
They can't. The state is asking them, why do you have this deficit?
Right.
I mean, we know they're under a consent decree, so they have to be especially careful about how they use their funds.
Right.
And these are user fees, right? And you have to be responsible with user generated fees, but we also have to remember that we have neighboring cities, right, who buy their services and they're looking at how money is being spent. Right. So
isn't that a dicey situation though you find yourself in? Because when you think of the constitutional way our community is made, there are people here on fixed incomes, and that is like a 75% increase.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
I did ask, I kind of mentioned at the meeting, I think, and I asked Dan about it, Dan Vicari, the head of the sanitary district, is there a way where you could ease it in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe $2 the first year and $4, and then I know one of our colleagues said, well, why don't we make people pay, right? There's such a huge number of people who never pay.
Yeah.
And I'm told that even if everybody paid at the current rate, we wouldn't solve our problem.
Yeah.
So, I'm hopeful that in the conversation we can explore all options.
Yeah.
I really don't want to vote for it.
Yeah.
Right? I know I'm taking a lot of heat for the school referendum.
I know you are.
On every end, right?
And right now people feel they're getting hit in the pocketbook
exactly.
during the pandemic.
And nobody, it's taxes are one of those things where, and I look at this as a tax, right? It's a fee.
It is a tax.
No one, any politician that ever votes for one, it's really hard. People get upset with you.
Right.
It's personal. You're doing something that's costing
They'll hold
something
it against
immediately, right?
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, again, I think, as I've said on other issues, we can't be so. At some point, you have to make decisions.
No, I know what you're saying.
You have to make tough decisions.
You can't be naive to the way things operate.
You can't be neutral on everything. You got to own it. And you got to realize that being a leader means that sometimes people will be mad at you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they're going to be mad either way, right? So you don't pass it, and then all of a sudden we see a big drop in city services. Then people are still going to be upset.
Right.
And so we're in a catch-22. We really are.
Yeah.
So I just hope we educate the public about it.
Well, it's just like before I got on the council, I used to hear Commissioner Allen was President Allen on the council at the time before the tax caps came in. It was on the ballot,
right?
So that we want to do the tax caps here and everything. I think we were probably the last county or the city or whatever that held out. But he talked about everything that we were going to lose if we did the tax cap. And at that time, I said at home, well, that's you guys' problem. You got to make it happen.
Right.
And now, as I sit here on the council and I benefit as a homeowner or a property owner, I benefit. But trying to run a city is totally different.
Yeah.
I need that revenue to make this city, to make sure that we're not having all these gunshots and the police is patrolling on a regular and dump sites is being cleaned up. All those things that we could have had. I mean, General Service was over at 200 plus before. The police department had a much higher number. Fire department had a much higher number. But because of tax caps and things of that nature that we benefit from at home, saving money, but it costs you something. So what we're saying is, if this does not pass, it's going to cost us something. Now, how much it's going to cost us, it remains to be seen, but it's going to cost us something.
Well, let me ask the three of you this, and I've heard this this kind of attitude in other cities. I think the administration sometimes kind of uses it, and that is where you kind of go out into the philanthropic community. You talk about community cleanups. We've got tons of churches, tons of nonprofits.
Have you seen some of their properties?
Well, there you go. Once again, there you go. Once again, we got too many 501c3s that are sitting here. Not paying taxes and they're not maintaining their properties.
Well, it's just like we asked.
Why not force them to go out
somewhere
here
else? You need to clean up your own property first, and we need to go to our church communities, to our non-for-profit, and say, look, your property is a mess. Let's just call it what it is. It's a mess.
And take care of your block.
And we have start at your church first.
Yeah, of course.
Start at your non-for-profit first. Then let's work on your block.
And then you don't have to rely on the sanitation department to do their community cleanup.
I mean, it's right with us with the city. Before we can really go out and start telling you what you need to do, we have to make sure everything that we own, we're taking care of. City Hall shouldn't be looking a mess with grass high and everything else, and we telling you to cut your grass. Yeah. No, City Hall needs to be cut, manicured on a regular basis. Then we come after you next.
Oh, look at you. All right, let's go to the phones. Caller, thanks for holding on with the Gary Common Council.
Good morning, everyone. I was thinking, what about some having part-time code enforcers? Maybe, working 3 hours a day. I don't know if that would help. But maybe part-time, since they don't have the money to hire so many anymore. And also, have you heard of, I saw on TV, because I look at Home Shopping and, QVC, and they had this pole saw. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay, and I saw that. I said, wow, even women can use that, because it's so long and it extends way up, and you have tree limbs hanging or whatever, and the pole is not that doesn't look like it's that heavy. And I was wondering if people use that a lot of times, to get rid of some of the limbs or whatever.
Are you volunteering to help me? I know who that is.
And give directions.
All right, thank you, Ms.
I'll take that too.
You have a good one.
Yes, we do have those pole saws and things of that nature.
Yeah.
I don't think it's so much of the part-time. I think we need a volunteer program where people that can come on, work with the city, people in general service, people in code enforcement. Yeah. We even talked about at the last meeting that we had the fire department, volunteer firefighters. Yeah. We got volunteers with reserve, and we need to increase all those numbers in all those different areas that definitely would help. Reserve is volunteer.
Yeah, it is. Let's go to the phones. Caller, how you doing? You're on the Gary Common Council. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff. This is Jocelyn Kelly of Dave's Breakfast Club.
What's up, Jocelyn? Hey.
Good. I do actually see that you have a council person in the studio. Hey, everybody.
What's up?
Good morning.
Good morning. Actually, my question is in alignment to the discussion that you all are having right now. And I've talked to Ron and Ty. I have not had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Godwin as of yet, but my concern is in alignment to what you all were talking about in tax collection. Mm-hmm. And how is it that individuals who own almost millions of dollars in tax collection are still able to redeem property and support progress of projects that are moving forward? Specifically, I'm related to our project that's up and coming on 26th and Broadway. Mm-hmm. We have acquired a number of those properties, and one we actually acquired on the tax sale. Yeah. And we just received word that that property was redeemed by someone who owed over $700,000 in taxes. Whoa. For over 100 properties in the Gary area. Yeah. And not only did they redeem it, but they transferred it to a trust. And it was my understanding that they now can get the access, because the bid that was made for their property were 3 times the amount of what the taxes were due.
Yeah.
And so now they're able to thwart our project and also get to excess while redeeming that property. And it's I want to say the city is under siege. So we talk about the referendum and all those other great things.
Yes.
But there are a number of individuals who buy these properties are knowingly say they're not going to pay taxes. They don't take care of the property. They don't cut down the trees. The buildings are blighted, falling down. And then you have a person such as myself and my organization who's willing to invest nearly $1 million to bring new development to this area, and they are allowed to thwart progress. And that's a huge concern. And I've sent out concerns to the local and Lake County government. And the only return that I've received is documentation of statutes that allows this individual to do what they've done, which is totally a disservice. And it speaks to the condition of our community.
Well said.
It also speaks to why we can't get ahead because so many people are gaining the system.
Thank you very much, Jocelyn. And that kind of goes to what we were talking about as far as philanthropy, or people out in the communities who are going out here getting involved on their own, or various organizations that are out here around that are trying to do things to kind of so the city doesn't or these entities don't have to tax folks no more. There are people out here who have organizations that can do stuff. But what do you think about the real core of the problem? And I think all of us can agree, and the administration agrees, and I think the citizens agree, is that one of the main impediments in this town is that there are people that go to the tax sale like it is a food bank, and they're sitting on properties, and I'm sorry, but they go to these things and they just acquire all these properties and they sit on it. And there is no way to stop them. And a lot of these people have no intention of doing anything with these properties, or they shouldn't even be able to do it because of the taxes that they own.
Yeah, well, I will say that I certainly, I understand the issue. And I think this is an opportunity for us to engage our state legislators.
Yeah.
Right, who design the laws that the county follows in terms of the disposition of real estate, who's able to participate in the tax sale and so forth. And I certainly feel her pain because there are buildings in my district, and I'm sure all over the city, that there's nothing going on. It's basically abandoned. There's one on Lake Street that comes to mind right now, and you think like, what's the plan here? Now they may be paying the taxes, but some people aren't for years, and it's a game, a shell game.
It's a game,
and it is unfortunate. And I'd be interested in looking at, are there some policies we could put in place locally?
Yeah.
That you have to put properties to productive use.
We have a mall that's sitting in the 5th District, right in the IUN footprint, that when I grew up was a major, retail spot. It's the Village, and it just sits there.
Right. And so, at what rates are they leasing? Are they willing to? Because my thing is, some of these buildings, I know landlords that get the write-offs, right? So sometimes when they take the losses in one place, it helps to deal with the gains in something that's more productive. But, you think, like, wow, wouldn't it be great if at least they could find some local businesses, some startups, and say, hey, we'll lease to you for $300, just to bring some life, to the building. But I think we have to engage our state legislators on this, but I also want to say that there are a lot of people who participate in the tax sales, and they do, rehab the properties and put them back to productive use. And I think that's an opportunity for us to support and encourage that activity and incentivize it, because I know there's a lot of flips, that are happening, and it's a good thing because we're moving new residents to the city, and that's positive.
All right, we're going to get our last call, and then we're going to allow the council to kind of hit on some points before we get out of here. Caller, how you doing? You're on with the Gary Common Council.
I thought you were watching Channel 4, man. You were watching Channel 4.
Oh.
Hey, man, my inquiry is more like what's already been said, man. Glad that they came out to lend, listening there to what, the woes of the people are, man. So people are, sick and tired, they're trying to empty promises and false hopes, man. Let's not talk about it, but I know Brewer work. I see his whole family out there working. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? And hey man, you know, it's just plain and simple.
Yeah.
No money, no honey.
All right, buddy, we got to get out of here. And somebody else who texted, they wanted to tell you, Ty, congratulations on the Kaboom grant.
Oh,
Yep,
thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank
congratulations.
You so
Yeah.
much. Thank you.
That was from Ms. Dilworth.
I know. Thank you so much, Ms. Dilworth. I appreciate it. I know that she was an advocate for Gary overall, and
Yeah.
especially within the parks. I know she did her best in terms of trying to lead the parks.
Yeah.
So I probably should reach out to her. I know she probably has some great resources
Yeah.
that I can
Nice.
leverage as well. So thank you.
Well, you know what? It's been another good show. I know there's so many topics. The phone's been lit up. I know we come with an agenda, but once we open the phones, there's so many other things that maybe we didn't even think about talking about. And that's always a good thing for this show. And I'm glad you all come regularly. You're all always engaged. I know you got other stuff going on. Being a council is a part-time job. You all got day jobs that you do as well.
I don't know about the part-time.
I know. I'm just telling you what it says.
Right.
But with that being said, go.
I did want to
go ahead.
again remind people about voting.
Yeah.
You can vote early at the Gary Genesis Center.
Yeah.
It will be closed on Monday, October 12th for Columbus Day, but generally from October 6th, which was this past Tuesday, I think, until October 31st, you can vote early on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, you can vote early from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. Please vote.
Yes.
I mean, and that is just so necessary, it's so essential that we show that we are present, we're alive, we're here, and we're engaged as a community when it comes to the people who will represent us. And as well, if you have not done the census, and you know someone who has not done the census, or maybe you think they've done the census, please ask them.
Yeah.
Because you can Google census and the application will come up. And you can do it within 2 minutes or less on your cell phone or on a desktop or a laptop. Census.gov, I believe, is the website, and it will lead you right there. CENSUS.gov. Go there, fill it out. Churches, pastors, community organizations, reach out to your people. Share the link to the census website to make sure we are properly counted, because we need to make sure our numbers are going to be good, because I think we're still under 50. We're under 50%
Yeah.
in terms of participation.
47%.
So that we have a long way to go, and the deadline is looming.
It's like next week, isn't it?
It's very soon.
Yeah.
I think they were talking about an
Extension to the end, but then I heard they're not going to do it. It's like next week or something.
Right. So stand up and be counted.
Yeah.
That is my word, and please vote.
There you
So
go.
that's my party word.
Ladies, go ahead.
Okay.
Well, lady, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, say anything. I just, first of all, thank you for the time today, Jeffrey.
Yes.
I really appreciate
Yeah.
it. And just to echo William's point, it is very important that you make a plan to vote. So if you cannot take advantage of early voting, make sure that you're prepared for November the 3rd. If you do not know where your polling location is at, because I know that we had issues, during the primary this year as well as last year in terms of people not knowing where their polling location is, feel free to reach your precinct committee persons.
Yeah.
That is their responsibility. They are supposed to be advocates for getting people registered to vote, knowing their polling locations, absentee voting. That is the role of the precinct committee. If you do not know who that person is, then reach out to your council representative. Call the Gary Common Council office, 881-1315, and we'll make sure that you have that information.
Yeah.
So that's it. And, be safe out there too. I want to bring visibility back to that.
Yeah.
Make sure that you all are being safe as it relates to COVID and as it relates to the unfortunate situations that have recently happened in the city.
Well said. Thank you very much. And let's go to Ron. And by the way, your wife put those photos out there. Your family is growing, my man.
Yes, they are.
Oh man, they're getting older.
I got 3 with license now.
What?
Yes.
Oh, look at you. You all
Time is
right?
moving.
Time is moving, Grandpa. All right. But go ahead, Ron.
Talk already.
Go ahead, Ron.
Just want to bring back a light of, the violence that's been going on, the high homicide rate that we have going on in our city. We definitely take that serious. After I leave here, I plan on going to see the mayor. It's unannounced. He don't even know I'm coming.
Yeah, he does now. He knows now.
If he's there, I'm going to see him, and I'm making a trip to go see our police chief because something has to give.
Yeah.
They have to shake this thing up. I'm not satisfied with it. None of us are. I know the mayor's not even satisfied, even the chief.
Yeah.
But we have to do something different. I think our pattern has gotten, people have adapted to our pattern. There's no police. It's going to take a long time for them to come. But we have to shake this up. You know, we cannot continue to keep doing things like we've been doing them. We're seeing the results that we're getting, and it's not good. I mean, we had a double homicide in this city here this week ago.
But father and son.
Father and son.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's serious.
Yeah.
One homicide, I have said it, is way too many.
Yeah.
But we had a double homicide. A father and a son got killed. And I believe that person is still out somewhere. Come on.
And somebody knows something.
Somebody knows something. They're shooting in the daytime. They're shooting at the nighttime. This is serious.
Yeah.
We're sitting here today.
Yep, at a daycare. Yep.
The day I drove past that last night, seen the daycare surrounded. A shooting took place yesterday on the east side by a daycare on Georgia Street.
Right.
Come on. I mean, we're sitting here today. Does it hit our houses tomorrow, tonight, whatever? Does it hit someone that's listening here? You know, I take it very serious. All of us as council people, we take it serious.
Yes.
But I'm going to talk to the people that can really make some things happen today and just let them know what I stand on and just give my suggestions on what we need to do. But I am totally in support that we bring the sweeps back right away. I know that's controversial, but right now we need to have safety. I won't use the word law and order.
Yeah.
But we really need law and order in the city.
Oh, look at Ron Brewer. He's fired up. Ron! All right, everybody. I want to thank you. It was pretty fun today. It always is. And I appreciate, I'm speaking on behalf of the citizens. We appreciate everything you do and the fact you take time out to come and do this show. All right, everybody. With that being said, with another installment in the books, I'm going to get ready to get out of here. I'll see everybody in just a little bit for the afternoon news desk with Jeffrey Smith. It is Free Fall Friday. We'll see what that turns out to be. I'm out of here.
Thank you.
Thank you.